All right, so it's a little late for an update because the car is pretty much done. Not long-term done, but definitely short-term done. We've hit a drift event now and an autocross. We did the autocross first to just kind of shake down everything, make sure it would hold together, and it did pretty good. So then the next weekend we went to a drift event locally, got some runs in, found a few issues, a few things that needed tweaking, but overall went pretty good, and I don't think we can ask for much more on a 100% fresh build. So I guess we will go tip to butt. I think last time I did an update, we didn't really have anything. So now we've got GT500 14-inch brakes, a bit overkill, but they were on the shelf, so they were free, and free is the best kind of parts, so we're gonna run them. Some coilovers also had on the shelf. I think right now it's a 400-pound spring, maybe a 450, which is a bit light, but I didn't really mind it. Scotty D control arms and outer tie rods, so we can get a pretty good angle out of that. I did modify the inners a little bit. So we got the 4.6 T5 out of a New Edge V6 and some eBay long tubes, which had pretty awful fitment. They hit about everywhere you could imagine they would hit. Steering shaft was a S197 shaft. They come solid, fit pretty good with the steering column I made. And then so we needed an exhaust. This exhaust is it was a full S550, I guess kind of like a catback exhaust, the full pipe. And I just kind of hacked it up, re-welded it. You can see there's a lot of spots we re-welded, especially back here. And then all coming out an oval 2-in-1 tip we got at one of the NASCAR surplus places locally. Scotty D dual caliper brackets on the back, some BMR cheapo rear lowering springs, cheapo shocks we found in the junkyard. Just put on this Panhard bar, Maximum Motorsports. Painted it gold and polished it because we're not poor. So I think most of the wheel hop that we were experiencing was coming from no quad shocks, stock lowers, which the bushings are a little dry rotted in those, and then these cheapo AutoZone or O'Reilly shocks or whatever. So I just put the Panhard on today. We did not drift with that, so hoping that'll help a little bit of the side-by-side movement. But e-brake worked good. Overall, the car did good, minus the wheel hop. And even with the wheel hop, it was pretty controllable, I guess. But you could definitely feel it hopping. So I don't think in the last update I had really anything done. It was more of just plans of it. So at that point we were, I believe maybe it just started making the steering column, or we're planning to. So now we've got full steering column. Ended up doing a Scott Rod dash, mainly for looks, just because it felt weird sitting in the seat with no dash. Windshield just felt farther away. So I still got the shifter here. Just put the transmission back in a while ago. That was actually another issue we were having at the drift event, was it wasn't wanting to go into first when it was hot. It was like the clutch was not getting stuck, but it was, if you pushed it slow, it felt like the throwout bearing wouldn't slide on the bearing retainer. But if you really just kind of crammed it in, it would go a little bit. So we got the 2 valve with the hot air intake. Still got to clean up some wiring, but kind of ran into a wiring mess a little bit based on some issues at the junkyard where they had a car labeled as the wrong year. So the car that I pulled the PCM and the engine harness off of was labeled as an 05, but then the computer, once I finally kind of got it hooked up, came back as an 09. So I had to go back in and rewire some of the body harness and repin it some. But then come to find out, when I was trying to tune it, the PCM for this one does not have a resistor in it like the PCM for an 09. So the PCM came back as an 08 on its information, but the whole wiring harness and PCM was set up like an 09. So that resistor wasn't giving me a clean CAN bus signal to be able to tune or data log it. But finally got it running decent after we got some resistors added in, so still got to go back, clean up all that wiring. It was basically just laid in here where I could run the event. So another issue we found at the event was the battery. The plastic, I guess we needed some bigger washers on these bolts because they just ripped straight out of the plastic. So the battery ended up over there, so that was kind of cool. But I guess that about sums it up. So with this Panhard bar in and new transmission bearing retainer on, about to go for a test drive, see if that solves some issues.